He certainly seems to have momentum this week, whether you look at some of the polling is obviously very, very tight. You look at some of the bookmakers, I often look where the bookmakers have got it placed, and his price has shortened.
Yes, I mean, in poll after poll, we've been seeing it's, there a lot of them are within the margin of error. So take that for what it is. This race is essentially tied everywhere. But the important thing to look at is the trend line. And what we've been seeing in the last 7 to 10 days consistently is Trump inching up and Kamala either plateauing or inching down. And so you're starting to see those two lines cross. And historically, when you look at national polling, either be it in 2020 or 2016, you really need the Democrat to win by about 3 points nationally in order to edge out a victory in the Electoral College. And right now, that margin doesn't exist. So Democrats are very nervous. Republicans are feeling good. But again, Kamala Harris does have $1 billion and a large advantage when it comes to her ground game and actually pulling out the vote. The early voting, what we've seen in the numbers so far is that Democrats are underperforming with Black voters and with young voters. And so we're keeping a close eye on that, where early voting has started in certain states. But again, it is still early. We've got a little over 2 weeks to go. So we'll see. But Republicans are feeling more and more bullish and Democrats are feeling nervous.
If Donald Trump does win the election and people look back and, hindsight's 20/20 vision, isn't it? Kamala Harris has just conducted a fairly bruising Fox News interview and got a lot of compliments out of it. Has she taken too long to step into the lion's den?
Yes. The short answer is yes. I think that, her campaign believed coming out of the convention, she had that little boomlet. The Democratic Party was very excited to be rid of sort of the dead weight that was Joe Biden. Everybody rallied around her. She was very nervous to come out with any major policy pronouncements because she didn't want to inadvertently alienate anybody. She thought that the vibe election could coast her through to November. And while it did work for a couple of weeks and she did have an outsized gain versus Trump in the polls, she was outside the margin of error. That ran out weeks ago. And in the meantime, you can sort of see that they've had a difficult time finding their footing. The issues going on in the Middle East, we had severe hurricanes in the southern part of the country. And so there was a governmental aspect that sort of, entered the political sphere. And it was clear that they really didn't know where to go or what to do. And I actually thought this week she stepped up her travel schedule. She's doing a number of events in Wisconsin, a number of events in Michigan. She went on Fox News. That interview alone reached around 5 million people in real time. She's doing podcasts that have major reach. The problem is, did they wait until too long? Was she spending too much time on Oprah's couch and doing The View and Stephen Colbert, sort of these softball interviews that weren't moving people, whereas she should have been stepping into the lion's den? I personally think they did her a great disservice by waiting until now to shift that strategy, but we'll see. We still have time. And again, she does have the money advantage and the mainstream media on her side. So we should not count her out. But if they look back and Trump wins, I think they're going to say, political pundits will say, they spent too much time on a vibe election and not enough time getting into the specifics, talking about economic policies that are going to resonate, dealing with the border, and getting into actual substance in these interviews.
Absolutely. Melissa, it's always great to have you on the program. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.